Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to Oxygen for the Soul. This week's Parsha, we begin all the way at the beginning. Parsha, not Bereshit, but Noach. Noach's Parsha begins, it says, Ela told Noach ish tzaddik tamim haya bederotav et elokim hitalech Noach. Okay, it says that Noah was these are the descendants of Noah. Noah was a righteous person. He was a righteous man. Tamim haya bederotav. He was complete. He was holy. He was special in his generation. He was unique. And he walked with God. Now, there are two different camps that discuss Noah and his actions over here. On the one hand, it seems like, wow, this guy's amazing. We know the famous story. The world is going through all kinds of upheaval. People are losing themselves a little bit to all kinds of different kinds of values. The world, this is about 1600 years after Adam eats from the Eitz Hadat Tov Hara, from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and the world is kind of falling apart over here. But something unique about Noah. Now, if you were an author writing the story over here, and you would say, and you want to talk about Noah, how would you write this pasuk? The pasuk, listen to the pasuk. It says, "Ele toldat Noach ish tzaddik tamim haya bederotav." These are the generations of Noah. Noah was a righteous person. It's a strange thing. If I was writing this pasuk, I would say, "Ele toldat Noach." These are the generations of Noach. Okay, and his children's names are Shem, Ham, and Yafet. That's how you write this pasuk. But it doesn't say that. It says, Ela toldat Noach ish tzaddik tamim haya bederotav. This is a weird thing. And this would explain a little bit about what Rashi is bothered by. Rashi says over here, he says, since this verse mentions Noah, it relates to his praise. He's got to deal with this. Like, why is it talking about his praise? Just tell me that. You can say, Ela toldat Noach ish tzaddik. And then tell me, Toldotav, these are his generations. But it's a weird thing. Now, remember that the world that they were living in at the time was not like the world that you and I are living in right now. All of Bereshit, from the beginning of Bereshit until the end of this week's Parsha, is about 2,000 years of history in two Parshiot. From Bereshit to Lech Lecha, okay, end of Noach, you're talking about 2,000 years of history. That's a long period of time, in very short periods of psukim, talking about all kinds of upheavals. Now, when Adam eats from the Eitz Hadat Tov Hara, he changes the world. And there's two things that happen. Number one, he's punished, right? In two ways. One is by the sweat of your brow, right? He's going to work hard. And number two is that everything you plant will be thorn and thistle, okay? Meaning that the earth will no longer have its raw, awesome power, just producing food and all kinds of nourishing, minerals in the classical way, which is effortlessly. Now you have to put an effort. And so therefore, when we talk about, Noah, it's very hard to talk about Noah without actually mentioning his father. And we know that Noah's father's name was Lemech. And Lemech was what was he known for? He killed Cain, but otherwise, not much. Now, Lamech knew something unique about Noach because he named him. He says, Noach, this guy's going to bring rest to the world. What did he see in Noach? So two things, the Midrash says. Number one is that Noach was born circumcised. Number two is that Noach was born with a unique characteristics in his hands. In the old days, before Noah, a child was born with one or maybe even two, or at least one webbed hand. His hand was webbed. And the reason why his hand is webbed, which was a tovah from God, is because the only way they could go ahead and plant is by tilling the earth, right? You have to go down and scoop up the soil and break it up. They did it using their hands. They didn't have tools back then. Until Noah was born. Noah was born with all 5 fingers, and he did not have this scooping ability with his webbed fingers. So we know that necessity is the mother of all invention. What does he do? He invents something called the plow. And the plow makes all kinds of farming so simple, so easy. And he thought this would bring Noach, this would bring some kind of rest to the world. The rest of the world needs to find the time to develop the self. Remember that our primary profession is the development of the soul. Your para-profession is the work that you do out in the business world. We are here to remind ourselves that we are souls in a body and not a body with a soul. Your primary function is your neshama. How do we access our neshama? By having, number one, hakarat tov. I'm so grateful for all things I have. What a beautiful day, beautiful weather. I'm so blessed to have all my blessings. We count the blessings. We see the Yad Hashem and everything. And that's how we elevate ourselves, not to lose ourselves into a world of just safek, of doubt, a world of all kinds of unfortunate accidents that may explain how you and I got here. We reject that. El Tolda Noach is a criticism of Noach. Because the only thing that Noah was able to achieve in his generation is that Noach ish tzaddik tamim hayavaderotav. We don't want hermits. In Judaism, we have a responsibility to the earth, right? And I'll prove it to you. We have a responsibility to be in a situation where we're caring for the people around us. Noah doesn't do this. Noah produces a righteousness. Because he's a hermit, he doesn't go out and do anything. But he walks with God, not with the people. He's not fighting for the people like Abraham did. He's not going out and pushing back and trying to inspire the people who are morally depraved to go ahead and come together and fix and change their ways. That's not what he's doing. He's sitting there, he's building his teva. Okay, so he has 3 children, Shem, Cham, and Yafet. Chachamim point out over here, Shem, Cham, and Yafet. Number 1 is, how did he become someone who walked with God? He always had Shaviti Hashem L'Negli Tamid, Shem. He always had God, his ultimate name, with him wherever he went. Cham, he lived a life of passion. And Yafet is like his beauty, but more than just Yafet. Yafet is also Tiferet. He lived in a world of balance. And these are the 3 traits that he lived by. This is his philosophy, the children's names, and this is how he got to an amazing level of walking with God. To walk with God means to emulate God. Okay? So it continues. You think this is a great story over here, right? This amazing superpower hero is going out and changing the world. But no. Vayar Elokim et haaretz. God, v'tishachet et haaretz lifnei Elokim, and God he sees that the world has become corrupt. V'temeleh haaretz chamas, and the world was filled with robbery. Vayar Elokim et haaretz v'hine nishchata, and God said the world was corrupt. Ki hishchit kol basar, because all flesh had become corrupted, perverted. Et darko al haaretz, all the ways of the earth became corrupt. There's something called the theology ecology principle, where our actions impact the moral fiber of the earth itself. What does God say to him? God says to Noach, Ketz kol basar ba lifnai kol mala haaretz chamas mifnehem. Oh, the whole world is coming to an end. I'm going to do it an annihilation event. I'm going to wipe out the whole entire planet. I'm going to go ahead and obliterate these people from the earth because of Hamas, because of this robbery. Why is robbery so terrible? That robbery is going to go ahead and you're going to wipe the whole planet because people are stealing. In California, you could steal up to $1,000, not a problem. It's going to come down and destroy California. We're going to answer with this. What does God say? So he first identifies the problem. There's something called Hamas, which is not an accident, that the terrorist group chose the word Hamas themselves, a bunch of thieves. Okay, and then God says, okay, this is the problem. This is the reason why the world is falling apart, because people are stealing from one another. I'm going to tell you how to fix it. Aseh lecha teva. I want you to go out and make an ark. Atzeh gofer, kinim ta'aseh teva, koferet et otah mebeit bachutz, b'kofer, zet taseh otah shlosh, when he gives them all the dimensions. You have to have a tzohar taseh, you have to have a window or a skylight, yada yada and yada yada. And then he brings them a bull and so on and so forth. Well, we know that 2 things. Number 1 is that the teva itself had 3 floors. We know that 1 floor was for the garbage, the middle floor was for the animals, and the top floor was for Noach. And we know that Noach, what did he do the whole entire time he was there? The Midrash says that Noach did not sleep. All he did all the days in the Teva was caring for the animals. So the world is falling apart because of what? Because of robbery. What is robbery? God creates a world where he gives us so that we can give back, right? There's a give and take relationship. When someone steals something, they're breaking up the natural order of the world itself to the point where it becomes corrupt, right? There's a masculine, feminine, there's a giver and a receiver. But if I'm just going out and taking everything that I want and I'm breaking the natural order of things, I could go ahead and turn giving into a weapon against the receiver. You're weaponizing giving. And that's not what God wants. God wants us to be giving for the sake of giving. So he puts Noach into a teva, where his whole entire mahut, his whole essence is to be in a space where he's doing what? He's giving. And we know the Midrash tells us that, he was late to the lion hurt him, he hit his rib, and so on and so forth. But other than that, all he did was a shepherd of all the animals on the planet, but not for any human beings. He elevates these things, comes out, and he sees the world of devastation. Now, interestingly, the Arizal says in Sefer Gilgulim that Noah dies without really fulfilling his mission. He was really supposed to not just save the animals, he was supposed to save humanity. So who does he come back in as later? None other than Moshe, right? Moshe Rabbeinu, little Moshe. How does Moshe's life begin? In a teva. He's thrown into the water in a little ark. The same idea over here, taking this, tar and the basket and so on and so forth, and literally being thrown into the water, being saved from the water. And his whole entire mission of life is to go out and do what? Do teshuvah, get people to do teshuvah, bringing the people back to God. It's everything that Noah failed in. And I've definitely spoken about this idea before, and it's worth mentioning again. It's always worth mentioning. Noah's problem was he was overly humble. Who am I? What am I going to do? I can't do anything. I can't change anything. Abraham says, you know what? Chesed, Noach, you doing chesed with the animals? I'm going to do chesed with humanity. I'm going to walk with God differently. And that's where over there, God says, Lech Lecha. Noach is walking with God. And where is Abraham? He's walking with the people.
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
We lost the volume.
Can you hear me now? It says it's working on my end. Anyway, he was walking with God, and Noah's walking with God, and Abraham is walking with the people. He changes the people. He changes the ability of the world around them to go ahead and connect to God. He gets them to say Baruch Hashem. He gets to make a bracha. He gets them to go out. He's sharing. Can you hear me now?
I can't hear it.
Sunny, can you hear me? Okay, something's wrong with your phone. I can hear you, but you can't hear me. Anyway, so you have a world that is completely, utterly destroyed because of a complete misunderstanding, a misalignment of all things that are here. I am created so that I can go ahead and be an individual that is here to go ahead and make the world a better, greater place. How do I make the world a better, greater place? The first step of making the world a better place is by what? Making yourselves the better people. By making yourselves the people that understand that we have a responsibility to give back, to care for people. And if we don't see the humanity of the other people, the responsibility in seeing the Tzel Elokim in every single person, we've completely lost sight of what our mission is in this world. And this is why, by the way, when we talk about Noach's father, Lemech, it's interesting in Yiddish, when you call someone a Lemech, it's actually a derogatory word. A Lemech is a loser. A Lemech is someone who doesn't accomplish anything. What is Lemech's greatest accomplishment? His son. Because in Judaism, the real measure of someone's greatness is what he accomplishes. I had a great son. He did all these things. Why did he stop giving? Why did he stop growing? And on some level, even Noah, on some level, kind of like gets so high, but doesn't go all the way. Like he's so awesome with all these amazing traits, but doesn't push it all the way. And we know what happens at the end of it. He has his kids, and he gets one of his cham ends up castrating him. He gets drunk. The world is not the same place. And what happens again at the end of the parasha? We end up in the exact same place we started with. Another historic event of people who come together. Na'aseh nanu shem. Let's make ourselves a name. Nivneh lanu ir migdal. We're going to go ahead and build a city with a tower, Rosh Hashanah, with the heavens and the head is in the heavens, and we're going to basically remove ourselves from God. Right? How does that happen? So you have two stories in Parshas Noach. One is about Noah's generation, right? And then about 400 years later, another generation of people that are falling into the same mistake. There's a famous author known as Paul Johnson. Paul Johnson was famous. He's a historian, but he wrote one of my favorite books called The History of the Jews. What's interesting about him, he's not Jewish, he's Christian, and the history of the Jews is coming from an outsider talking about what he sees as far as Jewish contribution. So Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, actually lived in England where Paul Johnson was, and he asked him, he said, listen, out of everything you've seen about Judaism, what do you think was the greatest gift that Judaism gave to the world? So listen to this is so cool. He said, out of every other religion and every other system, the greatest gift that Judaism gave to humanity is the balance between the individual and the collective and the masses. The fact that you have an individual who has responsibility to go ahead and develop himself, And at the same time, as a community, we have a responsibility of going out and doing things together. The Mabul starts with people only thinking about themselves. I'm going to steal, it's all about me, 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 me. And that ends up destroying the world. At the end of the parsha, you have the opposite extreme. What do you have? People only thinking about the community, the collective, with no more individual responsibilities. You have two contrasting ideas. In Judaism, what's our goal? Balance. Tiferet. Right? One extreme of people taking, another extreme of people only giving, giving, giving. By the way, which generation are we in right now? Are we in the taking generation or the giving generation? Ready? We're in the giving generation. We're only thinking about the collective, and we're not thinking about taking personal responsibility. This is what's going on right now. We're a few days away from voting in this country. It's such a polarized election between Kamala Harris and Donald J. Trump. And you have a whole America with divided because of this philosophy. And it's interesting, at the end of the Parsha, when they want to go ahead and build these new types of technology and building these buildings, we're going to make our own bricks. They're using the power of fire and harnessing technology. That was a technological revolution that happened over there. And you and I are going through our own technological revolution right now, and that technological revolution is upending the way in which you and I live in the world that we live in today. Noach was a recalibration about the fine order of things, the balance between taking and giving. Abraham tried doing it also, but went to an extreme, which is why he has a Ishmael. Ishmael, by the way, is also an expression of a collective giving gone wrong, and no individual responsibility, which is why I believe Hamas is able to do it. It's all about groupthink, no individual thinking over there. But eventually you have a Yitzchak who has an Esav and a Yaakov, but Yaakov is the one who gives us a Yosef who has an Ephraim and Asher. He finds the balance in the world that we live in. And I think that the message of Noah, Pashat Noach, is like this. If you don't have a clear understanding of how much influence you have in this world, you're missing the mark. There's two parts here. One is the responsibility I have to me and my family, and then secondary is my responsibility to my community and the people around me, or people around me and my community. It's not one way. There's not one directional. It's bi-directional over here. And the more we're able to kind of expand our consciousness to include my development, my family's development, my friends' development, my community's development, that's how we become more God-like. And that's why maybe at the end of Parshat Noach, where do we start with? Lech Lecha. Where do you start society over again? Avram being the changing point. Where does he go? Into himself. He's going into developing the self again and then rebooting history like that. May we all be blessed with the unique understanding of our potential, of how our ability to improve on ourselves and make ourselves the greater people completely changes society, but more importantly, never giving up hope on the influence that you and I can have on the people around us. Be proactive in everything that you do, and you will be matzliach. Wishing you all a Shabbat Shalom Mevarach. Looking forward to continuing the conversation.
Wow. Do you have a minute?
Yeah.
Real quick.